Alright, we are recording. For once, this is not a tutorial for how to use the level editor. I've been taking a break from developing the level editor and the Weather Factory Meltdown game because I am actually in the process of creating a pixel art base for Celestia. I've already got her walk animation. There might be a little bit more to do for her hind legs with that animation, but at the moment what I am working on is her mane. And I counted, and her mane has an 80 frame long animation. That is 80. 80 frames long. It's taking a lot of work, and at the moment I'm recording this, I am actually trying to get something a little bit more skeletal. And I don't just mean that in terms of, just having the wireframe here with nothing filled in for her mane. What I actually mean is I am actually picking out frames that are 10 frames apart. Because there is so little difference between one frame and the next. Look at this. The real difference is that I was holding my iPhone a little bit differently. What I had to do to get screenshots of each frame was, well, actually screenshot is a misnomer. I had to get photos of each frame. What I did was, first of all, I was using my Mac computer. I had few episodes of the show downloaded onto my Mac's hard drive, and I used QuickTime to open them after I did show in Finder in iTunes. You can see iTunes in the background here. And the thing of it is, QuickTime does not allow you to take screenshots, at least not as far as I can tell. So what I ended up doing to get around that was to use my iPhone to snap pictures of each one of the frames. And it was using that I discovered that Celestia's mane has an 80 frame long animation. And yeah, I ended up using Magical Mystery Cure. There's problems with this. Now, first of all, there's the pattern of pixels. When I resize images off of this, that pattern shows up pretty easily. But another problem with it is that there's so much glare and so much light that it's sometimes hard to tell where one color ends and another color begins, especially at the lower parts of her mane. Sometimes I have to make educated guesses. All of that being said, these are what I'm using for my base. What I do is I grab a screenshot of this, the image viewer. Then I resize that image until it's about the same size as the Celestia base that I have here. And then I don't really trace it. That would not really serve my purposes, because as you can see, there's a little bit of wobble between each frame. And that wobble would just throw everything off if I was just tracing this directly. Instead, what I do is I copy the previous frame over, set it to a dark color so that I have sort of a reference for where the previous frame, or I should say previous 10 frames, were at. And then I use the color yellow to map a point on her mane up to, well, I guess I didn't use that point, but I use, crap. I should probably explain these two images. These are resized screenshots of this. And what I do is I make sure that her eye is aligned. I use that as a reference point. And it's worth stating here that the angle is a little bit different. Here, she's supposed to be completely in profile. In the screenshots that I'm getting from the show, she's sort of diagonally facing to the left. And I say diagonally because diagonal along the z-axis, but you get the idea. So what I do is I use these as references. This point is about where her mane starts to turn down. So use the line tool here, I got to round this out a bit. Alright, then I get rid of the yellow here. Then I find another relevant point, like here. I want it to line up both across and vertically. So I draw it up as well as across. There it is, and that tells me that I need to draw this straight down here. Round this out a little bit. And let's do another one. I believe this is another good point to use. Scroll down a bit. There we go. Okay, that looks good. Another point. Oops. I'm going to clean up after myself here. And yes, I'm using the Windows XP version of Microsoft Paint. This is what I'm comfortable with. So that's the tool that I'm using. Let's scroll down a little bit. There we go. All right. Do a little cleanup here. You get the idea. This is how I created the last 3 frames. This one I got off of a single screenshot, and it's what I used for her walk animation base. This is before I actually animated her main. I'm not expecting to use this frame since it's being used, well, the rest of this sort of has its own rules for how it's being put together, and I'd like it to be a little bit more consistent. Once I get the every 10 frames animation going, it'll be 10 times faster than her main usually moves, but I'll use that as a reference, and then afterwards I'm going to fill things in. So probably I'll do another video at that point showing how I'm filling things in, but I figured now that I have a MO going for how to essentially copy her main's animation, I figured I should make a video explaining it. You know, filling in 10 frames of the difference between this and this, I'm not even sure there's 10 pixels between here. But, oh well, I can probably have minor differences even if they're just a few pixels for the individual color boundaries within her main, and that, if nothing else, should give me an opportunity to make it look like her main is still moving. So yeah, that's about it.